What's going on, folks? Welcome to Kick Weekly with Tim Wheaton. I'm your host, Tim Wheaton, and I'm happy that you're here. This week, we're going to be doing a breakdown for the Muay Thai mega fight between Rodtang, Jitmuangnon, and Superlek Jitmuangnon. They're going to be fighting for the ONE Flyweight World Muay Thai title this Friday, live from Lumpini Stadium. Due to the size and importance of this fight, we are going to be doing the news at the end of the show. There's only a little bit of news going on this week anyway, but considering how important and big this Muay Thai fight is, I thought I would go right in and do a preview and breakdown for this matchup. So for this preview and breakdown, we're going to be looking at habits that these fighters do. And what we're going to be looking at is boiling down a fight to just a few key factors. So what does a fighter want to do? How do they do that? What do they do against their opponent's game? And what are their repeated weaknesses? And now I'm going to have clips for each thing going on, but let's talk a little bit about Rodtang, Jitmuangnon, and Superlek a little bit more in depth. So Rodtang, everyone knows him. He is one of the biggest highlight reels in ONE Championship. He is an extremely well-known and popular fighter. He has a brawling style. He loves to showboat. Whenever he gets hit, he's smiling at his opponent and all that stuff. Everyone absolutely knows it. Before he was in ONE Championship, he was an Omnoy Stadium champion. He also has a few notable wins over people like Petchdam, Jonathan Haggerty, and a few others here and there. He's an extremely entertaining fighter. He's also won Fight of the Year pretty much in every organization he's fought in. Superlek is the kicking machine. He has a heavy outside kick game, and he loves to utilize that kick as much as possible. Now, coming into ONE Championship, he was a two-time Lumpini Stadium champion and an absolute Muay Thai talent. There is a reason that people always ranked him ahead of Rodtang in terms of pound-for-pound lists, and largely it was because of who he was beating. He was constantly beating relevant and top-ranked fighters on the stadium Muay Thai scene. Guys such as, like, most recently, he beat like Superball, Panpayak, Nabil Anane. He also picked up a kickboxing title in ONE Championship as well. And that's fun. That's cool. Piece of gold. Good for him. Maybe a little bit more pay. All good stuff there. And he's absolutely an incredible talent. Even when I was doing this breakdown, I was doing the what is this fighter's weakness? And then went back and watched, and it's a struggle to find weaknesses in Superlek's game. He is such an incredible talent. So I'm really excited to be doing a technical breakdown, and let's get right into it. Let's start with everyone's favorite, Rodtang. What does he want to do in fights? He wants to close the distance and land flurries on the inside. How does he do it? He feints to the inside. He often will counter off kicks and punches, and he pushes his opponent against the ropes, and he's also quite good at ring cutting. Here's him on the stadium scene. Yeah, beautiful inside work. Here's him against Jonathan Haggerty. Everyone has seen these highlights repeated tons of time. I guess for audio-only listeners, there's clips of Rodtang punching people right now. I'm sure you've seen most of them before, but it's just showing what his game is and how he gets there. And similarly, what does Superlek want to do, and how does he do it? What does he want to do? He wants to kick people. How does he do it? He uses lots of feints, false entries, and he backs up often to force his opponent to go into a straight line against him, which means he actually does give up ground quite a bit in his fights, but it's often part of his game plan. For a kicker, he's also quite aggressive, but yeah, so here's him kicking tons of opponents, really enjoying the long range and mid-range attacks on these. He has a full arsenal of kicks. It's mainly the outside body kick and outside leg kick he really enjoys, but he's got an entire quiver full of different types of kick attacks. And then how do these opponents play off of each other's game? So, for example, how does Rodtang do against kickers? Well, he does a couple different things. So first, he likes to catch kicks. And he likes to counter back with whatever he wants, whether it be punches or other kicks. Quite often he's catching kicks. And then counters off of it. He also likes to kick with the kicker. So in his fight against Konai, he was getting really frustrated because he was often catching the wrong kick or falling for the wrong thing. You can see some of his best work here is when he began to kick with the kicker and mix his punches in with his kicks. So his A game is punching, his B game is mixing punches and kicks. So it all flows together because his B game will push into his A game. Honestly, watching a bunch of fights of Rodtang back to back, I think when he's mixing punches and kicks, he is by far at his best. When he is just focused on punching, he is only just okay. But when he uses the full arsenal of his skills, he is exceptional. Okay. And then what does Superlek do against a Rodtang style opponent, a Muay Mat, a heavy punch style? Well, let's check on his fight against everyone's favorite, Seksan. He falls into the clinch quite a bit when opponents pressure him. And you can see this repeatedly against Seksan. Every time that he was really pressured with heavy punches, he falls into a clinch. He is a very good clinch fighter as well. He's extremely strong on the inside. How this is going to work in one championship varies a lot. They don't love to let people clinch as much in one. However, it really does depend on the referee reffing the match. So we'll see what plays out here. But I think ultimately we're going to see a lot of clinching between these two men. I don't think there's any way to avoid that. Superlek also has quite a good elbow game on the inside. You can see him landing tons and tons of elbows. So if Rodtang plays around on the inside, he may get clinched, he may get elbowed, or he may land a bunch of flurries of punches. It is a chess match between these two men. And then where has Rodtang shown weaknesses? It's typically him getting teeped or push kicked. Fights year over year, he is getting teeped and push kicked quite a bit. And opponents want to teep kick him because he's trying to close the distance, and his opponents are of course trying to push him back and maintain distance. And you can see it quite a bit, that he does really get beamed with it a lot. It was the strike that Jonathan Haggerty was landing on him the most. Jonathan Haggerty, some of his best highlights are in that matchup from teep kicks. And then where has Superlek shown weaknesses? It is quite often when people are kicking with him. It doesn't happen too much, but you can see it in the Enahashi fight, which was a kickboxing match. But Enahashi had a very active kick guard and then was kicking him back, and he was able to land success with it. Panpayak also kicking with the kicker against Superlek, found a lot of success when they matched off. If you are kicking with the kicker, the idea is that you know your opponent is on one foot and you know exactly where they are. So you can launch a missile of a kick back at them because you should know where they are. Based on this, we can see that some of their strengths play into their opponent's weaknesses, and some of their weaknesses play into their opponent's strengths. What do I actually see in the fight? I ultimately think this is going to be a lot of these two falling into the clinch against one another and trying to jockey for position on the inside. Because what a lot of people have been describing is that it is an outside kicker versus an inside puncher, and they're just going to say who has the better game. And while that is true, it is not great analysis, because we know that. We can watch 10 seconds of either of these guys and figure that out. It's not a matter of who can apply their game best. It's what tools are at play for these guys to apply their games. What will actually work here? Will the elbows from Superlek actually make any difference, as many people online are trying to say? And yes, if we are playing at distance, Superlek's game should be far more effective than Rodtang's game is. And that's fair, that's no problem. If they are at mid-range, the punching from Rodtang is going to get to work and start landing. If they are at the close range, both guys are almost neutral. One guy's trying to clinch and one guy's trying to strike. I think we're going to see a lot of, honestly, if Rodtang begins to put his combinations together, where he is combining kicks with punches, he's an incredible threat and he's incredible danger. He's got a good eye for timing and he has good shot placement as well. However, Superlek's kicking power is unprecedented. It is absolutely unreal how strong of a kicker he is. I think watching their fights back to back, right next to one another, I'm leaning towards Superlek in this match. I think he's got a lot more tools. I think on the inside, I think he's got more tools to maintain what he wants to do in this fight. And if he falls to his B game, which is punching, clinching, and elbowing, I think his B game is extremely strong, as we saw against Nabil Anane, where he was forced to close the distance. He was unable to kick at range. And because of that, I mean, it's almost like an arithmetic problem that I'm looking at of just, there's a few more plus signs next to Superlek here, and therefore I'm leaning Superlek. But considering the stature of both of these men, both of them are ranked on top 3 pound for pound at worst. They're top 5 pound for pound in Muay Thai right now. They just have such a great contrast of styles, and this match could be a mess, and that's okay. I'm hoping that we get to see this match more than once in our lives. They have bounced around one another. They've fought in the same weight class for more than a decade now, and I'm surprised that they haven't met already because they have so many opponents in common already. And I think they're going to fight more than once in their career, and I'm hoping for it. But yeah, ultimately my prediction is Superlek gets it done. I think what we're mostly going to see is a bit of an ugly fight. I don't think we're going to see a lot of beautiful Muay Thai. I think they're going to be jockeying in the clinch and fighting each other off from the inside quite a bit. That's my ultimate prediction. I think the elbows will be making a difference in this fight for him in terms of Superlek. But of course, Rodtang, if he begins really chaining those kicks together, it's going to change the course of this fight. It's just a matter of we haven't seen Rodtang do that so much in more recent fights, which he hasn't had to fall to his B game in recent fights. And that's not his fault at all. It's the quality of opposition. So anyway, I think Superlek has fought more relevant opponents. He's shown just an incredible, well-rounded game. So therefore, I am leaning Superlek. And that's going to be at ONE Fight Night 33. And that's going to be at ONE Friday Fights 34 live from Lumpini Stadium this Friday. Check your local time zone because it should be evening in Thailand. It's about midday for me here in the UK, and I think it's quite early morning for people in the US. But this is one of those Muay Thai mega fights that you absolutely do not want to miss. All right, now that we got the breakdown and preview out of the way for the big mega fight, let's talk for a second. If you're like, hey, you look tired, you're talking like you're tired. Yeah, I am. I think since like Sunday, I've had maybe 9 interviews with fighters, and then I got one more upcoming later this week. It's been a busy week. I've been behind on a lot of different work things that I need to get done here. But let's do the big news that is coming out of Glory Kickboxing. Badr Hari, who just canceled his match a few weeks ago due to the Moroccan earthquakes, is going to be fighting in Bulgaria upcoming on October the 7th in the main event against Uku Jurjendal. Now definitely go check out Uku Jurjendal. You can find his highlights in Glory on Instagram. He is a heavyweight slugger who is a dangerous fighter. Previously, Badr Hari was to fight James McSweeney. From our understanding, all we know, James McSweeney was offered a fight in October or November, and he said November, and Glory said, okay, well, we want to do October. So he didn't get the fight. That's the story we know. So Badr Hari will be fighting Uku Jurjendal, and that is going to be on October 7th, live from Bulgaria. Let me know what you think of the matchup, because I think him fighting James McSweeney was fair. Both of them are almost at the same point in their kickboxing career. Uku Jurjendal is a person who has wins in 2022. He just had a big knockout win against the Infusion heavyweight champion a few weeks ago, and he is heavy-handed. But yeah, we will see how that matchup plays out. Also coming up later this year in Glory Kickboxing, they're having their marquee Glory Collision 6 event booked for November the 4th. Of course, as we already knew, we have Rico Verhoeven will look to defend his heavyweight title against Tariq Cookie Alsaro in the main event. We also already knew that Donegi Abina will look to defend his light heavyweight title against Tariq Kababez in the co-main event. But this week, tons of fights have come out. We now know that Hamicha will be returning, and he will be fighting Diagli Kumura. We also have Serkan Ozkaglayan will be fighting Ulrich Bokemi, and Ibrahim El Banoui will be fighting Stefan Latuscu. Like I said, keep your eye on Stefan. Abraham Vidalis in the featherweight division will take on Ahmed Cheikh Musa. Given these fights, given the names, Glory Collision 6 on November the 4th is really shaping up into a fun event. So we got lots of fights upcoming later this year. I think for a few moments this year, it was getting kind of sweaty here for kickboxing, but given what the rest of the schedule looks like for the rest of the year, considering we have a big Rise tournament, we have the Glory tournament, we have Glory Collision 6, I think we're going to close out this fall and winter with kickboxing with with an optimistic attitude, I'm hoping. All right, folks, thank you so much for your time. My name's Tim Wheaton. Thank you for joining me for Kick Weekly. Join me next week and we'll be talking about the fights upcoming that week. I don't remember what they are off the top of my head, but that's okay. It is what it is. I'll talk to y'all soon. Any comments, queries, or stuff that I straight up got wrong, please comment, let me know. Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube, I am here for y'all. Thanks so much for your time, folks.